Mama, why are you here?
What would you do if you spent 10 years abroad, struggling, suffering, eating nothing, sleeping less, just to make sure your family was okay? 10 years of sending every dime home, every single dime. And then one day you came back home, unannounced, and on the roadside, you see your mother begging, in rags, forgotten, like somebody who had nobody in this world. So where did all that money go? Who collected 10 years of your sweat, smiled in your face, and left your mother to die on the streets? Come closer, because this story will break you before it heals you. Let's go back to the beginning. But before that, which country are you watching from? Let me know in the comments. I know you haven't liked or subscribed yet. Oh yeah, please do. It means a lot to us. Thanks and God bless you all as you do so. There is a saying that opportunity is like a bus. If you miss it, another one may come, but nobody promises you a seat. Ajoke did not miss a bus. When the chance to travel abroad came knocking, it didn't knock gently. It knocked once. And Ajoke, sharp girl that she was, grabbed her wrapper, her dreams, and whatever little she had, and she answered that door. But living was not easy. See, Ajoke was not packing bags. She was leaving behind the two most important people in her world. Her mother, Mama Ajoke, a woman who had used her two hands, her sweat, and her prayer to raise her children alone. A woman whose back has bent from carrying too much, but whose spirit, that one never bent. And then there was Kunle, her younger brother, her blood, the boy she had watched grow up, the one she had fought for, cried for, and loved in that deep way only an elder sister understands. Leaving them felt like tearing herself into two. The night before she traveled, Mama held her face in both hands, those old rough hands, and said, Ajoke, go, and come back better. We will be here. Kunle just smiled, that easy smile of ease. Ajoke wiped her tears, boarded that plane, and carried her family's hope on her back like a load she was proud to carry. She was going to make it. For Mama, for Kunle, for every sacrifice that had never been repaid. Nobody tells you the full story about abroad. They show you the pictures, the clean streets, the fine clothes, the big cars. But they don't show you the 3 a.m. shifts, the cold that bites your bone like it has a personal grudge, the loneliness that sits beside you at night like an uninvited roommate that refuses to leave. Ajoke suffered. She suffered quietly, the way strong women do, without making noise, without calling home to cry, because the last thing she wanted was to worry Mama. She cleaned offices. She worked double shifts. She ate the kind of meat that had no business being called food, just to save every coin she could. But slowly, the way a small fire eventually catches, things began to change. Little by little, Ajoke found her feet, got a better job, moved to a better room, started breathing. And the first thing she did when the money started coming, she called Kunle. Kunle, I am sending something for you and Mama. Make sure she eats well. Make sure she lacks nothing. And Kunle, smooth as shea butter on a warm day, would say, Ah, sister, God bless you. Mama is fine. We are managing. You know how she is. Always praying for you. Those words, every time, like a script he had rehearsed. Ajoke would end up feeling warm in her chest, feeling like her suffering abroad had meaning. She was the good daughter, the provider, the one holding the family together from thousands of miles away. There is a proverb that says, a snake that wants to enter your house will first learn to look like a rope. Kunle had mastered that art. Every time Ajoke called, he was ready. His voice always calm, always warm, always carrying just enough details to sound convincing. He knew his sister. He knew she was busy, tired, working hard. He knew she didn't have time to investigate, so he used that. Mama was sick last week, but she's better now. Just enough truth to sound real. She's been going to church every morning. You know how she is. Just enough mama flavor to feel genuine. She said to tell you she's proud of you. And that last line, that one was the weapon. Because how do you question a message like that? How do you probe further when your heart is already full? Ajoke would swallow every word like a cold water on a hot afternoon. She trusted Kunle the way you trust your own heartbeat, without thinking about it, without questioning it, because some things you just believe by nature. So she kept sending. Every month, sometimes twice a month, whenever she had extra, she added extra. New clothes for mama, medicine money, feeding money. She even sent money for mama's birthday one year. Told Kunle to take her somewhere nice. Kunle collected everything and spent it on himself without blinking. Meanwhile, mama, the same woman Ajoke was working herself to the bone for, was somewhere struggling, eating what neighbor managed to spare, wearing what her whole body could still carry, wondering in her heart why life had become so hard. But she never complained to Ajoke because Kunle had told her, "Don't worry, mama. Ajoke is struggling abroad. Don't add to her problems." You see, he had locked both doors, blocked Ajoke from the truth and blocked mama from her daughter. That boy was not lazy. He was calculated, and calculated evil is the most dangerous kind. 10 years. Think about that for a moment. 10 years of cold morning and long night. 10 years of missing mama's cooking, missing the sound of her voice, missing the way she would tie a wrapper and hummed old Yoruba song while sweeping the compound at dawn. 10 years of sending money home and sleeping with peace, because she believed her family was okay. Ajoke had done well for herself abroad. Not private jet kind of well, but the kind of well that makes a mother proud. She had savings. She had dignity. She had built something real with her own two hands. But something kept pulling her. That invisible rope that connects a child to their roots. It never caught, no matter how far she went. So she had the decision. I am coming home. She didn't call Kunle to announce it. No big broadcast. No preparation gist. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe God was already directing her steps. But Ajoke simply packed her bags, booked her ticket, and decided to surprise her mother, and decided to surprise her family. She pictured it the whole flight home. Mama opening the door, that big wild smile breaking across her whole face. The tight hug that smells like chicken smoke and shea butter. Kunle laughing in the loud way of ease. A small celebration. Nothing big, just family, just home. She was smiling to herself on the plane like someone who had won a quiet war. When she landed, the Nigeria heat grabbed her immediately. That thick, unfamiliar warmth that abroad could never replicate. The noise, the energy, the chaos that somehow still feel like comfort. She was home. She entered a taxi, gave the driver their family address, and sat back watching the streets pass by. She had no idea that the streets were about to show her something that would shatter every beautiful picture she had been holding in her heart for 10 years. God was not taking her home for a celebration. He was taking her to the truth. The taxi was moving through the familiar street and Ajoke's heart was full. She was pointing out things to herself quietly. Oh, this road is still the same. They had built a new market here. This area has changed, oh. She was happy. Genuinely, deeply happy. And then the taxi slowed down near a junction she recognized. There was a small crowd gathered loosely by the roadside, the way Nigerians gather when something is wrong but nobody wants to fully commit to helping. A few people walking past, glancing and moving on, one or two standing, watching, and there, sitting on the bare ground, back against a cracked wall, hand stretched out, was an old woman. Ajoke's eyes caught her the way your eyes catch something your brain hasn't yet accepted. The woman was in rag, dirty, one cloth that had forgotten what color it used to be. Her hair, unkempt, rough, like nobody had touched it in months. Her body thin in that painful way. The kind of thing that tells you this person has not been eaten, not properly, maybe not at all. Ajoke looked and looked again. "Driver, stop! Stop the car!" Her voice came out strange, like it belonged to someone else. She stepped out slowly, legs moving, but her mind was already screaming. She walked toward the woman like someone walking in a dream they desperately want to wake up from. She crouched down. She looked at the face, those eyes, that nose, that jawline that she had seen every morning of her childhood. "Mama," the word barely came out. The woman turned slowly, those tired, sucking eyes blinking against the afternoon light. It was her. It was Mama. Ajoke's leg gave way. She hit the ground right there on the roadside and grabbed her mother like a woman trying to hold herself together by holding someone else. She was wailing, not crying, wailing. The kind of sound that comes from a place deeper than tears. People around were watching, some murmuring, some looking away, but Ajoke didn't see any of them. She could only see Mama, her Mama, the woman she had been sending money to protect, sitting in the dirt, begging strangers for survival. 10 years. 10 years she had sacrificed. And this is where her sacrifice has landed. When the person you trusted to water your garden is the same person who had been poisoning the roots, by the time you find out, the damage is already deep. Ajoke didn't even think. She turned back to the taxi that was still parked where she left it. The driver had watched everything from his seat, too stunned to drive away. She scooped her mother up as carefully as she could. That frail, light body that used to be so strong, and she got back into that same car. "Driver, hospital, now, please." Her voice was shaking but her eyes were fire. The driver didn't argue, didn't ask for extra fare. He just drove. In that back seat, Ajoke held her mother against her chest, Mama's head resting on her daughter's shoulder, eyes half closed, breathing in that slow, roaring way. Ajoke kept whispering, "I am here, Mama. I am here. You hear me? I am here now." She was rocking her like a baby, the same way Mama had once rocked her. They arrived at the nearest hospital and Ajoke handled everything. Registration, deposit, everything, with hands that would not stop trembling. The doctor took Mama in immediately. Malnutrition, dehydration, neglect. That last word hit Ajoke like a slap. Neglect. She sat in that hospital corridor and stared at the wall for a long time. Mama was admitted. The doctor said at least 1 week. Now, here is where this story adds another layer of wickedness, so cold it will make your skin crawl. That same evening, Ajoke's phone buzzed. A text from Kunle. "Sister, good evening. Mama is not feeling well though. She needs money for drug and hospital bills. Things are hard there." Ajoke read that message, then read it again. She was sitting 3 corridors away from their mother who was lying in a hospital bed. A mother that Kunle supposedly did not know was there. And this boy had the full audacity, the complete and total boldness to test her asking for hospital money for the same mother that he abandoned. Ajoke did not reply with anger. She did not expose herself. She simply typed back calmly, "Okay, I will send something soon." Because she had learned something in that moment, something important. A hunter who announced himself never catches anything. The week in that hospital was the longest of Ajoke's life. She barely slept. She barely ate. She sat by Mama's bed, held her hand, watched her slowly regain color and strength, and cried every night when she thought Mama was asleep. But Mama could hear her. She always could. On the 6th day, Mama was stronger, not fully herself. That would take time. But her eyes were clearer. Her breathing was steady. And that morning, when Ajoke walked in with a bowl of pap from the hospital canteen, Mama looked at her with those deep, knowing eyes and said, "Sit down, my daughter." Ajoke sat. Mama was quiet for a moment. The kind of quiet that is preparing itself to carry something heavy. Then she spoke. "Ajoke, how did you survive?" Ajoke blinked. "Mama, what do you mean?" Mama's voice was low, shaking slightly. Not from weakness this time, but from something that had been sitting on her chest for years. "Kunle told me that you had an accident abroad, that you were in the hospital, that you needed money badly or they would throw you out." Ajoke went still. "He said you were too ashamed to ask me direct. So Mama stopped. Her eyes filled. "Ajoke, I sold everything. The furniture, my wrappers, the small land your father left us. Everything. I was begging the neighbors. I was doing small work with these old ends, just to gather money to send to you. Because Kunle said if we didn't send, you would die there alone." The room went completely silent. Ajoke's mouth was open but nothing was coming out. Every time I struggled to send money, Kunle would come back and say you said thank you, that you were getting better. And then another problem would come, another emergency, another reason to send more. Mama wiped her eyes with the edge of her hospital gown. "I was begging on the roadside, Ajoke, to save you. And that was the sentence that broke everything." Ajoke collapsed on that hospital bed beside her mother and wept in a way she had never wept before in her life. Not even when she was suffering abroad. Not even when she was alone and hungry and cold. This pain was different, because this pain had a face, and the face belonged to her brother. Mama had been sleeping on the bare floor, eating whatever she could beg or borrow, wearing rags, sacrificing the last of everything she owned, all because Kunle told her that her daughter was dying abroad. Meanwhile, Ajoke was working and sending money home thinking Mama was comfortable. And Mama at home was suffering and sending money abroad thinking Ajoke was dying. Two women, both sacrificing everything, both deceived by the same person. The same mouth that said good morning to both of them was the same mouth that had been poisoning both of their lives. If betrayal had a definition in the dictionary, it would have Kunle's picture right beside it. On the 7th day, the doctor discharged Mama. She was walking, slowly, carefully, like someone relearning how to trust their own legs. But she was walking, and to Ajoke, that alone was enough to be grateful for. She settled the hospital bill without flinching, every kobo, because this was Mama. There was no amount that was too much. She helped Mama into a taxi, checked them into a decent hotel, clean sheets, proper food, air conditioning, the kind of comfort Mama's body had been starved for God knows how long. When Mama lay on that bed and felt the softness beneath her, she closed her eyes and exhaled so deeply that Ajoke had to look away, because that exhale carried years in it, years of suffering, years of hardness, Years of a floor that should have been a bed. Ajoke ordered food. Real food. Mama ate slowly at first. Her stomach had forgotten what a full meal felt like. But she ate. And somewhere between the first and second plate, a small smile crept onto Mama's face. That smile. That smile still had warmth in it. But Ajoke was not smiling. She was sitting across from Mama, watching her eat, nodding when Mama spoke. But inside, a different conversation was happening entirely. Her mind was working. Where is Kunle? She had been replying his text all week without raising suspicion, sending small amounts here and there to keep him calm and unsuspecting, letting him believe she was still far away. She asked a few questions around the old neighborhood. Old neighbors who recognized her, who hugged her and whispered things with their eyes before their mouth could speak. People who knew but had been minding their business the way Nigerians do when family matters is involved. When they saw Ajoke, the real Ajoke, standing there in flesh, the truth started falling out of people like water from a broken pot. Ah, Ajoke, you came back. Your brother moved though. Big area. Lekki side. We tried to help your mama, but Kunle said you were handling everything from abroad. That boy changed, Joe. You won't recognize him. Every sentence was a new wound. But Ajoke held herself together. She thanked them. She smiled. She gathered every piece of information like a woman building a case. But that is exactly what she was doing. The rat that had been eating your food at night doesn't know that you've been watching its footprints in the morning. Kunle had been comfortable for too long. That was about to end. The address was not hard to find. Lekki, one of those estates where the gateman wear uniform and the generator never sleep. The kind of area where the car parked outside is making a statement and every apartment is telling you somebody here has money. Ajoke sat in the taxi as he drove through those clean, wide streets and felt something she couldn't quite name. It wasn't just anger. It was the specific kind of pain that comes when you finally see with your own eyes what you have been suspecting in your heart. But suspicion can still be argued with. Suspicion still leaves room for maybe I am wrong. Maybe there is an explanation. The taxi stopped outside a block of flats that had no business being this fine. Fresh paint, polished tile at the entrance, small garden by the gate that someone was actually maintaining. Ajoke paid the driver and stepped out slowly. She could hear it before she even reached the entrance. Music, loud, expensive sounding music, laughter. The kind of laughter that belongs to people who have no worries. The clinking of bottles. The smell of pepper soup and grilled fish floating down from an opening balcony somewhere above. She followed the sound, and what she saw on the balcony stopped her leg completely. Kunle, her brother, her blood. The boy she had left behind with their mother. The person she had trusted with everything. He was standing there in a crisp white kaftan, gold chain catching the evening light, bottle of champagne in one hand, phone in the other, laughing with a group of friends like a man who had never known suffering a day in his life. Girls around him, music loud, table full of food and drinks. He was living, really living. The kind of life Ajoke herself had not even lived abroad. Because every extra kobo she made she was sending home, cutting her own enjoyment short so that Mama could be comfortable, while Mama was on the roadside in rags. This man was pumping champagne in Lekki. Ajoke stood there and could not move. Her hand slowly came up and covered her mouth. The tears came out without permission. Not loud tears, not wailing like the roadside. This one were quiet. She watched him laugh again at something one of his friends said. Watch him refill his glass. Watch him live the life she had unknowingly funded with her sweat and Mama's suffering. 10 years. Mama on the floor and Kunle on a balcony. A child who uses his mother's tears to water his own garden. The ground will remember. She wiped her face with the back of her hand and she walked through that entrance. Ajoke climbed those stairs like a woman carrying the weight of 10 years on each step. No rushing, no noise, just steady, quiet steps. The kind that come with someone who had already made peace with what is about to happen. She could hear the party getting louder as she gets closer. More laughter, more music, more of everything that had been bought with her suffering and Mama's tears. She reached the balcony entrance and stepped in. Nobody noticed her at first. The friends were too busy enjoying themselves. The girls were too busy laughing. Music was too loud for anyone to register a woman walking in with tears drying on her face and 10 years of betrayal in her eyes. But Kunle noticed. Maybe it was a brother instinct. Maybe God tapped him on the shoulder. But somewhere between one laugh and the next, Kunle turned and he saw her. The champagne bottle in his hand stopped mid-air. He smiled. That easy, rehearsed smile that had been deceiving everyone for 10 years. Froze on his face like he had been suddenly stitches there. The color that left his face in that moment. Even his friend noticed everything had shifted. The laughter around him continued, but Kunle was no longer in the party. He was somewhere else entirely. His mouth opened. Nothing came out. Ajoke stood at the entrance. No shouting, no screaming, no dramatic pointing of finger. Just standing there, tears sliding down her face. One hand slowly rising to cover her mouth. Because what do you even say? What word exists for this moment? Okay, she had crossed ocean for this family. She had postponed her own life, her own comfort, her own happiness, wiring money home months after months after months, telling herself every time that it was worth it because Mama was okay. That was the lie that had kept her going. And here was the person who had been feeding her that lie. Standing on a balcony in Lekki with a champagne bottle and a gold chain while their mother was picking food from the mercy of strangers on the roadside. The music was still playing, but between Kunle and Ajoke, there was a silence. There was a silence so loud it swallowed everything else in that room. Kunle took one step forward. Ajoke, I can explain. She didn't move. She didn't blink. Just look at him with those wet, exhausted eyes. And that look said everything word could never carry. I trusted you with the people I love most. And you used the trust to destroy them. Kunle's voice died in his throat. Ajoke lowered her hand from her mouth, took one long look at her brother. Then she turned around quietly and walked back down the stairs. No shouting, no slapping, no drama. Just a woman leaving a place she should never have come to. Because some people don't deserve your anger. They deserve your silence. And your silence will follow them longer than any fight could. And that is the story of Ajoke, a girl who carried her family on her back across an ocean, who sacrificed her youth, her comfort, her tears for two people. One of them deserved every drop. The other spent every drop on himself. The road of betrayal is wide and easy to walk, but it always leads to somewhere dark. Thank you for watching. And if this story touched you, you already know someone like Ajoke. Maybe you are Ajoke. Share this because some story needs to be heard. And don't forget to hit the subscription button. It really means a lot to us. See you soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.